Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you that special drawing rights should be increased only with congressional input, and I agree with Mr. Huizinga that we have to focus on Burma, Myanmar. I ask unanimous consent to put in the record a chart showing how the value of the dollar compared to other currencies has declined precipitously since Trump's so-called Liberation Day, and to also put into the record a CBO report issued just an hour ago that shows that Republican proposals to change Medicaid would in one case take 1.5 million people would lose their Medicaid benefits, and in another proposal would cost 3.9 million Americans their Medicaid benefits.
Without objection.
I also ask unanimous consent to put in the record a letter I sent to the Secretary, responded to by his Assistant Secretary, dealing with direct file, which means you don't have to pay TurboTax because the IRS has the software. And the response that I got, an absurd response, was basically, well, as long as, we just want to make sure TurboTax makes a lot of money, so we're not going to do that.
Wait just a second.
And I would point out that the IRS could send every American, for their voluntary use, a proposed first draft of the tax return, since you already have the W-2, you already have the 1099, and you don't have all the input errors that come from people doing their own returns. But that is something that your administration is stopping. I would ask you, Mr.
Without objection.
Yes. I ask you, Mr. Secretary, to provide for the record within 1 week your best estimate of when the U.S. will hit the debt ceiling and exhaust our borrowing capacity. Can I count on you to provide that for the record?
Sir, the so-called X date is a moving target.
I'd like your best shot.
As I stated yesterday, we are moving on to the warning track, and we don't want to be on the warning track. And
I would ask you to provide the Congress the best information you can, but I'm going to go on to another question. I represent one of the two areas devastated by the Los Angeles fires. I spoke directly and on camera to President Trump and asked him to exempt building materials from these tariffs. The National Association of Home Builders says that these tariffs will add $11,000 to the cost of these fire victims rebuilding their homes. Can you assure us that in a country where we have a devastating housing shortage in general, but we have thousands of people in Los Angeles have to rebuild their homes in particular, that these fire victims are not going to face this additional cost to rebuild their home?
I will look into that matter, and I was.
That is exactly what the president said in January.
I was in Los
so
Angeles
far
this weekend, and I toured the devastation.
Thank you. I hope you saw the devastation of the Palisades, and I hope you won't be imposing another $11,000 cost on every home builder. Now, as to capital markets, where I devote most of my time, all of us on the subcommittee agree that we're trying to get people to invest in American stocks and build the American economy. And in fact, our tax code has hundreds of billions of dollars of incentives to get people to invest in America. China also has incentives to get the Chinese people to invest in Chinese stocks. But there's a difference. China only provides those incentives to Chinese people if they invest in Chinese stocks. American billionaires like investing in China, making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. Can you think of a reason why the American tax code should provide enormous tax benefits like the capital gains allowance to American billionaires who invest in Chinese stocks? Why is that in our national interest?
Sir, it's not just available to billionaires. If you were to buy,
right. So why do we want to encourage
buy a Chinese ETF? A very
why would we be neutral on whether I buy an American ETF or a China ETF? Don't we prefer American capital to be invested in America, or are we just fine with encouraging Americans to invest abroad?
Well, sir, we don't want to close the capital account, and we do want investors to be able to maximize their judgment where they should invest.
Let me go on to one more thing.
I have said I wouldn't bet against the U.S., but
please, next question.
People can.
Next question. Abu Dhabi and United Arab Emirates just announced that they were going to give $2 billion to a stable coin put forward by World Liberty Financial. This stable coin pays no interest. So
You and I are both finance people, just want to check my math. Assuming a 4% rate of return, is this interest-free loan of $2 billion worth $80 million every year to World Liberty Financial and its Trump owners?
Sir, I haven't seen that. I don't know the expense ratio, and as far as I know, no stable coins pay interest.
So the New York Times is wrong. Please read the article.